Welcome back to the Athletes Mindset. Today I'm joined by Shay Schanaman, pitcher in the Atlanta Braves organization. Shay has had a unique journey. After spending 5 years at Nebraska, he signed with the Braves as an undrafted free agent and has worked his way through professional baseball ever since. In this episode, we dive into his time at Nebraska, what life in pro ball is really like, the mental side of pitching, and overcoming adversity. Whether you're an athlete, coach, or someone who just loves baseball, this episode is for you. I'm excited for this conversation. Let's get into it. Jay, welcome to the podcast.
Good to be here.
Yes, sir. I am happy to have you here. Have watched you plenty throughout your time at Nebraska and now kept in touch with your time in professional baseball. And I'm curious, what does the average person not understand about professional baseball?
The average person might know this, but not quite fully understand it, just how much preparation goes into your average day. Yes, you play a lot of games and you got 3-hour game every single night. You don't just show up to the yard and, roll out there and play the game. There's just so much that goes into it, from warm-ups to recovery to strength training to scouting to just everything that goes into your body physically and your brain mentally. It's like you have a 7-8 month season. It gets so long that your process and your routine becomes like who you are, because it's truly a marathon compared to high school, college. You train and you build up your body to play like a 3-4 month season. It's more of a sprint to the finish line. In professional baseball, you play every single day for so long that you know you really fall back on your process and your routine. And the guys that have that dialed down and nailed are the guys that, perform the best and play the longest. So it's just crazy how much goes into it on a daily basis that a lot of people don't quite understand. Um, but it's cool to see how everyone goes about it differently and does their own thing. But it's just, there's so much that goes into it that people don't realize, that besides just showing up to the yard and playing the game, everything you do revolves around that game. But, people put themselves in positions to be successful on a daily basis, like long before the game even starts. And it's cool to see how some guys go about doing that. And the guys that have it nailed down the best are the ones that play the longest and perform the best when the lights are on.
Yeah, it's crazy because from a fan's perspective, you can show up to the yard early and you'll maybe see guys, taking BP, pitchers out in the outfield doing some throwing, catch play, and getting some plyos, whatever it may be in. But they've been there for 4 or 5 hours even before that. And there's so much work that goes into it. And you touched on is it's a long season, is you have to have a routine, you have to be prepared. How do you stay present or just balance throughout a really long season? Because you have the off season where you're still working, but then late February, you're getting ready for spring training. And then there's a lot that goes into it. And then the season starts and you're doing it for 8 months out of the year. How do you kind of stay present during that whole time and, be able to have that routine and preparation?
Yeah, it's hard sometimes. You don't want to get out of bed, or you had a rough day or a rough week or even a rough month, because, the season's long and you can kind of fall into ruts, and you just got to just, you love the game so much that you want to be your best, and you want to put yourself in positions to succeed. And in order to do that, you have to put in the work when truly, it's cliche, but when no one's watching. Like, you have to get in the cold tub, you got to get in the weight room and just check all those boxes every single day to give yourself every advantage you can, because you got to find that edge somewhere. If you're not just blessed with the abilities to go out, roll out of bed and throw 100 miles an hour, you got to find every little advantage you can. And it looks different for everybody. Some guys can roll out of bed and just perform, but the majority of guys, it takes every little advantage that you can find wherever it is and whatever it may look like physically or mentally. It's a mental battle more than anything, just to stay present and to stay locked in on your not only the game and each pitch, but like your process and your preparation and recovery. So it looks different for everyone, but just putting yourself in a position to be available and to stay healthy throughout such a long season is crucial too, because you can't make the club from the tub if you're hurt. There's guys that are constantly hurt, and a lot of it's not their fault, but some of it is. And if you can just avoid those little nagging injuries that just keep you on the field. Just like availability is a skill too. You got to be available and you got to be there when coach calls on you. So it's cool to see other guys' process and routine, but it takes a while to like dial in your own too. But once you do, you can tell that, oh, I did this today. I did everything I could to put myself in a position. Now I can just focus on the pitch or the batter or whatever situation you're in.
100%. And in professional baseball, you are on a team, obviously, still, but a lot of it just comes down to you. There's no one that's going to hold your hand or guide you through things. It comes down to you to be prepared and take care of your body and be available. And I want to go back to your time at Nebraska, where my thoughts of, having these conversations with guys that played college baseball and professional baseball is in professional baseball, a lot of it's on your own. In college baseball, you're with everyone pretty much every second of the day. And I want to talk about your time at Nebraska. You came in with a stacked recruiting class, so many guys that are still playing baseball, and just an unbelievable group. How did you end up at the University of Nebraska?
So I'm from Nebraska, as you know. Grew up a giant Husker fan, and it was always in the back of my mind that I wanted to end up at Nebraska. Took visits other places, talked to a lot of different coaches, but when Nebraska came through with that offer, I knew it was going to be a hard one to turn down. Just with the family could come to all the games, all my friends going to Nebraska. Um, it wasn't a no brainer, but it was at the same time that I just couldn't see myself playing in any other uniform than the big red one. And even when the portal opened while I was at college after COVID and everything, it was it was a thought. It was like, oh, I could go somewhere, maybe get some NIL somewhere, whatever. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to play for the Huskers, and what the coaches there have done, and um, the resources they have is truly up there with the best of them. So that made it even easier. Is an easier decision, just how the university poured into the program and how the fans poured into the program. It was an incredible experience. I wouldn't have had it any other way. Playing in the Big Ten was a little cold, but it makes you a tougher person, a tougher player for sure. Now on the flip side, I'm in the Southern League right now, playing in 105 degrees every day, so it's a little different now. But I'll take this over that. But I wasn't going to go anywhere else. When Nebraska came through with that offer, it was special, and um, it was written already.
Yeah, I remember freezing my ass off having to go to some of your games, watching you and Colby play at Nebraska in, middle of February. And I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, this is brutal. And that's why I went to California. So,
Yeah,
um,
there you go.
I got out of the cold for a little bit, but there's a lot of growing pains in college baseball. I remember when I showed up as a freshman, I felt like a fish out of water, had no clue what I was doing. You go from being the big dog, especially you at Grand Island, is you were the dude. And then you get to Nebraska, and as a freshman, there's some humbling moments. Where from your time at Nebraska, from your freshman year to your fifth year, do you feel like you really grew the most? And what were some of those growing pains?
Well, I thought I was going to be the starting shortstop when I showed up on campus. It's like, as probably did everyone, and there's only one starting shortstop. Um, Granted, that starting shortstop ended up to be, a pretty good player now, still playing. But yeah, no, I realized that I had a gift pitching, and I didn't want to like lean into it because I wanted to be that infielder still. And I gave it a go, and I wish I wouldn't have given up hitting as soon as I did. But when I realized I could, you know, be the best player I could be and help the team win on the mound, That was a whole nother challenge to dive into because I hadn't really pitched a ton. In high school, I always threw hard. So it was, I always just got up there and chucked it in high school. But I didn't really dive into the pitching side. And it's a whole nother world that I didn't really know existed, um, which was cool because it was kind of like a new chapter in the game for me. And it was fun to dive into all the different things about pitching that I didn't realize. But it was difficult because I didn't want to let go of the bat, and I wanted to be on the field every day, lacing it up, getting dirty, running around, playing defense, and scoring runs. So it was a little bit of an adjustment for me. Um, but in order to continue playing and reach the highest level, I think the pitching side was the way to go, and it's turned out well. I threw a lot of innings and learned a lot in college for sure, which got me to this level professionally. But it was humbling. Definitely realized that I wasn't going to be, the best hitter in the country or play shortstop every day. But you just got to adapt and adjust and find ways to, add value to the team that you're on. And the most value came from me pitching. And after my freshman year, I went up to Canada and played summer ball, and I did all right. It was fun. I learned a lot up there with those guys, but I came back and had a decent fall and looked at our pitching staff and realized that there was a spot for me to be a high leverage guy or even start. So I just had a good talk with the coaches, and I was like, let's go all in on the pitching side of things, and they agreed. They were cool with that, and then yeah, the rest is history. And I was the PO after that sophomore fall.
Yeah, it's crazy because you are just one of the best athletes that I've seen, not only just on the baseball field, but just in general. And so when you go from being a guy that played shortstop, played multiple sports, and then you are strictly just a PO, and sometimes the PO has an identity of kind of just being the not athletic kid that doesn't know what they're doing. And then do you have a guy like you that is out there and is one of the best athletes on the field is so cool. And during your time in Nebraska, you played multiple roles. At times you were a reliever, especially your freshman year, being that setup man with one of the best breaking balls I've ever seen. And then you get into a starter role. How do you differentiate those kind of two roles? And how did you balance that when you would go from being a reliever to a starter?
Yeah, it's different for sure, but at the end of the day, it's the same. You gotta come out throwing strikes. You gotta be on attack. You can't walk guys. The only difference is the second and third time through the order, and I've learned that a lot in pro ball because I've actually started a couple games this year, and that second and third time through the order, man, it's just like it's almost like you're facing different hitters because they've seen you already, even if they've seen you in the past, like seen you that same day, and your stuff maybe isn't as good as it was the first couple innings, or maybe you had an 8 or 9 pitch at bat with guys. So it's like you better have that second and third pitch dialed in, just even if it's not a a nasty put away pitch that you strike them out with, just getting them off the barrel is so important because like we talked about earlier, everyone's so good at this level that it's like this 8 or 9 hole was a 3 or 4 hole in college that just smoked heaters too. So you can't just dial these heaters in, and hope for the best because these guys can all crack and they're all great athletes. So it's like you gotta be on attack, get ahead. You gotta get to 2 strikes before 2 balls to race the 2K. You gotta find a way to just get guys off the barrel. And when you have one good pitch, like I always have in my slider, when you come out of the pen, you can just hammer slider, 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 and you see them once. Whether it's 1 or 2 innings, you're not going to face them twice going through the order. So, as a starter, it's like okay, they're sitting slider now and they know you're coming. So you got to not only get ahead in the count with a fastball, changeup, whatever it may be, you got to find ways to just get off the barrel. You can't spam the slider like you can coming out of the bullpen. So it's different there, and it's just a different animal. But at the end of the day, it's pitching. It's the same thing. You got to get ahead. You find ways to just get outs, and whether it looks different every day. Some days you're just dialed and you're just mowing through guys. Other days you're relying on your defense a little bit more. But at the end of the day, it's still pitching, and you still gotta be dialed in with all your stuff. But it's just a little different.
You ended your career top five at Nebraska in appearances and strikeouts. What do you accredit those accolades to?
Um, Being healthy for sure. I think that goes a long ways. Is just being healthy for the entirety of each year. You can climb leaderboards that way a lot, especially being there for 4 or 5 years. Um, it's hard. It's not easy to stay healthy, and if you're healthy and in the lineup every day and putting up good numbers, you can do that. So there's a lot more guys that are a lot more talented than me that have been at Nebraska that haven't been able to stay healthy or just couldn't find ways to put it all together. But it's yeah, just staying healthy and competing and growing each and every year so you get better than the year before. So when you do see those same guys you've seen before, they might think, "Oh, I've seen this guy. I got him down." They're like, "Whoa, that's new. I didn't see that before." Or that pitch was better. Or I'm sitting on his changeup. It's been really bad the last couple of years. And then you come out, it's like, "Oh, that wasn't the same changeup." So just continuing to grow and get better and better. Because if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And you know that. It's like everyone's working their asses off to move up in the order or to be in a better position on their team. So they're trying to get better and compete, and you want to be that guy too. So you're working your ass off to get better and just improving each and every day and learning from your mistakes and growing because it's a game of failure. And you know that you're going to fail a lot more than you can succeed. So just staying better and staying present, getting after it each day.
Yeah, absolutely. From your time as a freshman, which we talked about, to your senior year, where do you feel like you grew the most, or where did you think that your game improved the most to set you up in a position to go to Pro Bowl?
Um, I think it was the preparation and the day in and day out routine. I feel like just being more consistent with my life and my training and everything in between. There's so much going on in college. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to just be like, I lifted this morning. I did what I needed to do. I'm good for the day. Um, but just finding time to go in and get better in college adds up. And the days go so fast and the weeks go fast that you don't realize all of a sudden you're in February, the season's starting. Oh, the season's over. Oh, come fall. If you just put in that little time each and every day, it really does stack up. And it goes quick when you don't on the same side. On the flip side, it's like you'll go 3 months, you'll be like, oh, that was 3 months ago, time goes so quick. So if you find time every single day just to get better, it's pretty cliche, but like just putting in the work is how you get better. It's like the Kobe muse, you just get lost in the work and the results take care of themselves.
Absolutely. So you finish up your time at Nebraska, and there's a lot of uncertainty. You're unsure if you're going to get drafted, if you're going to get signed, what's going to happen. What was that process of signing with the Braves organization like?
It was kind of a whirlwind for sure. I know I had a I knew I wasn't going to get drafted. But I knew I had a good chance to sign with someone. So after the draft, it had been a couple days yet still. After the draft, I was getting a little nervous and I was checking my phone. I'm talking to my agent. I'm like, oh, have you heard from anyone? He's like, working, 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 whatever. And then I get the call from one of the scouts, JD French. I'll never forget it. I was at a wedding actually in California, and it was pretty surreal. It was really cool just to have that gratification of all that extra work and all that time did finally pay off, in getting that call and getting the opportunity. So it was pretty surreal moment. Um, it's just all the people and all the things that had to go right throughout my life in order for me to get here is truly special. So it's just I wouldn't have been able to do it without all my friends and family and God. Is truly a special moment. Uh, I look back on it, I think about it all the time. It's like, oh, what if I didn't get that call? It's like, where would I be? What would I be doing? But it's cool to be where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and you earned that. That's something that you, like you said, you put in the work, you put in the preparation and everything for to get to that spot, just to give you an opportunity at professional baseball. Was there any shock or anything that surprised you when you got to professional baseball, just going from Nebraska to now you're in the Braves organization?
Um, Not really. I mean, a little bit of shock was like it's the same game whether you're playing it at the major leagues or in high school or in college. It truly there's obviously crazy nuance to it, but it's the same game, and you can plug a 19-year-old or a 25-year-old with a 35-year-old, and they're playing the same game, and it's really cool to just see the levels to it. There is definitely levels to it, but it is the same game. So it's like you see these superstars walk through the cafeteria and you're a little starstruck at first when you're walking around, the facility. You're like, oh, that's so and so, that's so and so, and you see them just go about their day. They get their work in. They're in the weight room. They're doing the same stretches, workouts you're doing. They're in the cages the same way, and you're like, oh, well, I could do that, or I could do that too. And next thing you know, you're right there along with them doing the same thing they are, and you're like, it's the same game. It's truly a special game, but you don't realize the little things they do and that make them so good until you're like right there next to them, and you're like, oh, okay, I could do that. So it's inspiring, it's motivating and inspiring for sure, to be around all these guys that are so good. But at the end of the day, it's the same game. You go get three outs, you score runs, um, but it's cool to see how everyone goes about their work.
Yeah. I think one thing that I've really learned just from talking with so many people on this podcast is that you guys are just normal people, normal guys that are exceptional at what you do and just extremely hardworking. I mean, Max Anderson is one of my best friends, and I'll talk to him, and I'm just like, "You're kind of an idiot, but you know how to hit a baseball, and you work really hard." It's like that's all it is. And then same thing with talking to Schwelly is just listening to him. I'm like, "Wow, yeah, you've pitched major league innings, but you're just a normal guy that is really good at his
Hmm.
craft." And I think that's one of the things that is just super cool, and just how humble. I mean, some people are as they are at this high status, but they still are just their regular old selves. And I think that's one of the coolest thing about, yourself and a lot of the, professional athletes that I've talked to. And I want to hone in on the pitching side now. Were there any changes that you felt like you needed to make going from Nebraska? I know you touched on in college, you can get away with just going heater on 7, 8, 9 in the lineup, but in pro ball,
Yeah, you see a lot of the same guys. So the tendencies are starting to be more obvious. It's like in a 40, 50 game college season, some guys might do this well, do this bad, but after 100 games, you're like, okay, this guy cannot hit this pitch and he smokes this pitch. So it's like, it's more of a battle of execution. He knows what you're good at, you know what he's good at. So it's like, who's going to execute the best? And when you do execute it, and it's the margins are real slim. So it's like you hit your spot here, he might know it's coming. He can't hit it. Just the way his swing works, the way he's been playing, whatever it may be, he can't hit it. But if you miss over here, he's smoking that ball every single time. So it's like it's kind of a mind game. You know what he's trying to do. He knows what you're trying to do. So it comes down to execution and who's going to execute their pitch in that moment. That's kind of a bigger difference versus in college. You can kind of groove stuff in and let the stuff, take care of it. But on the pro side, it's more about execution and just finding ways to, get outs for sure. Yeah. Oh, what was your question there again? I got lost in there.
no, no, that was a perfect answer of just what are some things that you had to change, when you got to professional baseball to have more success.
Yeah, yeah. And the strike zone's smaller. That's definitely for sure. The strike zone's smaller. If I could go back to college, it feels like I wouldn't have walked a single guy in 5 years because it's like, oh, you're getting nitpicky here too. And we don't have ABS in Double A, but we got that TrackMan or the Hawkeye, and we got the iPad in the bullpen, and it's real slim margins. So, um, The strike zones for sure. You get a little more of the high strike just because it's still there, but inside and outside, man, college you're getting 3 to 6 inches off routinely. So that's different. That was an adjustment for sure. But once you get used to it, then it just becomes like normal. It's all what you're used to. Um, but yeah, on you're gonna fail. That's the one thing I wanted to touch on is like it's not on pitching. It's you're gonna give up those absolute nukes. These are all good hitters. We've established that. So it's like, how can you bounce back from that failure and continue to go about your stuff and not try to control the stuff that you can't control? Because once that pitch leaves your hand, it's totally out of your control. Umpire, catcher, hitter, whatever they decide to do after that is part of it. But like once that leaves your hand, all you can do is pray. So it's like you just got to put yourself in the best position uh, to have a good result after that pitch leaves your hand because
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do. So you gotta accept failure, learn from failure, and find ways to get better and come back from failure without thinking about it, holding on to stuff too long. Because it could be a mentally taxing game, as you know. It's just one of the hardest mentally you know overriding at times. It can just take over the highs, the lows. You got to find ways to just be that calm, cool, collected guy every day and be the same person day in and day out.
I'm really glad that you touched on, that there is a lot of failure and the mentality side of it. What is your mentality when you're out there on the mound?
God, I mean, you just want to be that bulldog that just keeps coming back, coming back, coming back, ready for the fight, And as the guy coming out of the pen, that's all you can do. You can just keep your foot on the gas and just pound the zone. Um, you can't get too amped up. I'm not one of those guys that performs really amped up. I used to think so. I used to try to get amped up, but it's like there's a fine line for sure between being calm, cool, cold blooded on the mound and being that fiery hoorah guy. I'm kind of in between, so it's like it's a happy medium for both of those things for me. Um, Sometimes you get a little not lazy, but you get a little complacent and you just start going through the motions and you gotta have those cues to get you back in it and to staff you out of it, especially during middle of July, middle of August. The season's long. You're having a tough stretch. You got to find ways to just bring 100% of whatever you got that day, and really dial it in. Um, you're gonna fail, like we've established, but just finding ways to fail the least is sometimes how you gotta look at it. Like you're gonna fail. It's just, can you fail today and succeed tomorrow and not let the failure of yesterday, bring you down today. So you just gotta find ways to stay on it and stay present for sure.
Yeah, I know Erstad has talked about this of, you have your red light days, your yellow light days, your green light days, and your green light is when you probably show up and you get on the mound and they're like, there's no one that can touch me today. Like I have not felt
Hmm.
any better. And then the yellow light where you're probably mostly in is, yeah, like this is kind of nagging or whatever it may be. And then the red light where you're like, I just don't got it today. In those situations where maybe it's not your green light day, because it's a long season, as we've touched on. How do you, when things aren't feeling the best, go out there and still dominate?
Yeah, I mean that then it comes down to pitching, right? Your pitchability. If you're a tick down on your fastball, if your stuff's not quite as sharp, you just gotta find ways to get off that barrel. And that's where like sometimes the third and fourth pitch come in. Like let me get a 1-1 ground out with this changeup. Even though it's not my best pitch, if I can find ways to just get out. At the end of the day, guys throw long, long careers just being pitchers. They might not be anything special in the weight room. You look at him and you're like, this guy eats tacos and drinks Coke every day. Like, yeah, he might, but he gets outs and it comes in all shapes and forms. You might be a little big flame throwing righty or a little thumb or lefty that just, eats innings, and those guys get paid a lot of money to do it too. It truly is a game that success comes in all shapes and forms, and you just got to find your little pocket that you can succeed in. And it looks different for everybody, but it's a special game where you can come in all shapes and sizes and be really good at it.
You touched a little bit on that guys are going to hit nukes. These hitters are really good wherever they came from, whether they played in college, high school, overseas, whatever it may be. These guys can hit. They wouldn't be there if they couldn't. You're going to give up hits, home runs, all of that. How do you bounce back after that? Because if you're feeling sorry for yourself, you're going to get nowhere because the next guy that comes into the plate, he's also a good hitter. How do you move on from that and not let that just consume you?
It's hard sometimes for sure, but I mean, it's just part of it. You gotta understand that it's gonna happen. You're not gonna throw your whole career without giving up nukes. So it's like how, like I touched on earlier, you just can't control what happens after that ball releases your hand, you know? So for better or worse, you just gotta go pitch to pitch and respond. Like a mentally tough pitcher is sometimes better than, you know, a flamethrower or a guy that's got all the talent in the world because yeah, he might go five shutty, but then that sixth inning he gives up one nuke, and then all of a sudden, it's a walk, it's a dribbler, it's a bloop and a blast, and then next thing you know, they score 4 runs. You know, versus the guy that gives up a nuke, 1-0, gets 2 more innings clean, gives up another hit, gives up a whatever, and it's 2 or 3 runs versus the guy that spiraled into a 4 or 5 run inning. So just staying present and accepting failure, learning from it, and moving past it. It's all you can do. Can control what you control, truly.
I think that's great advice, and I feel like so many athletes, and that's something that you could hear and learn when you're in middle school to when you're in the big leagues is it's how you respond. And that's a lot of what baseball is just how you respond. I'm curious, this is your livelihood. This is something that you worked so hard at your entire life. It's your job to show up to the yard and be successful and to dominate. How do you not let baseball consume you in general and honestly just, take over your life and your mindset all the time?
Well, it definitely does
Yeah.
sometimes, but some good escapes. Definitely fishing. We'll go fishing. We go golfing on our off days. Like we got a couple courses around here. We got a good group of guys that go golfing. So it's like you can kind of escape from that day to day by just getting out there and competing at something else. So we get after it on the golf course for sure, and that's a lot of fun. I've improved a little bit. Um, some of these guys are really good golfers though, and you can tell that the guys that have been in pro ball the longest are usually the better golfers,
Yeah.
for obvious reasons. But it's cool to see all these guys from all over that we got Dominicans golfing, we got Cubans golfing, we got guys from Cali, Nebraska, whatever, and we can get after it in something other than baseball. So that's a lot of fun, and that helps us kind of reset and um, you know release some stress, especially throughout a long season. We get Mondays off. So usually it's like if the girlfriends and wives aren't here, we're all on the golf course. So
Yeah.
it's like who's in this time, we'll book 2 or 3 tee times and then just get a head count and get after it. So that's a good stress reliever for sure. We go fishing. We're having a hard time. There's not a ton of fish down here right now. It's so dang hot.
Yeah.
It's hard to get on them, but we'll go fishing a little bit. And uh, yeah, I mean, it's just we're guys at the end of the day. We'll get together, we'll grill out, it's a lot of fun. But yeah, it is taxing. It's a long season and finding those little escapes is helps a lot. And you got to have those little escapes. You can't, baseball is our lives, but at the end of the day, we can't make it all about baseball. We have lives, we have families too. So it's nice to have those little escapes and, do other fun things too.
Yeah, because if you don't have any of that escape and you do just let it consume you, then if you have a bad day
Totally.
at the yard, then you're just gonna go back home and that's all that you're thinking about. You have nothing else to think about, and you're gonna show up the next day still thinking about yesterday and have this idea that there's nothing else going on in my life. And so I think it's really important to have those things that you can escape to and also enjoy because I mean, baseball is a fun game, but there's a lot of other things that can be a good time
Hmm.
as well. I end every conversation with the same question. If you could go back and give your younger self just one piece of advice regarding the mental side of the game, let's say freshman at Nebraska, Shay, what would that advice be?
Ooh. That's a good question. There's so many things I wish I could have done differently. But that's why I'm at where I'm at. I don't know. That's a really good question. I honestly a little different answer than your. I wish I would have been a catcher. I wish I would have kept catching. I caught when I was little, so I'm like, oh, I feel like I got a good arm. I could have gotten away with the lesser bat as a good catcher. But no, just staying locked in, and getting my work done and not letting the externals dictate my work that day, or rushing through something because I wanted to go to do this afterwards, or do anything that um, I wish I just would have been a little more present and grasp the just the opportunity that I was presented in college to have a good career and a good opportunity there. Feel like I was like, this is my life. I just kind of got used to normal, um, not like workflow, but like I just thought this was how it's supposed to be. I didn't realize that this is so special and this is such a special moment, and to have the opportunity to be a baseball player at Nebraska was like, this is going to last forever. This is my life. I didn't realize how quick it would go, truly. So just to like appreciate the opportunity. I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for, but just like appreciate what I had in front of me. And because you don't realize what you have till it's gone, and it's gone. And my college career is over. It's gone. So it's like, if I did, it just went so quick. And I don't think I was really present of a lot of the first year or two, especially later years, fifth year, senior year. You're like, this is all I got. I'm making every day, making every day the most. I'm not taking it for granted. That first year, that's freshman, sophomore year, you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants and not really realizing what's happening. So I'd go back and just tell myself to be present and really be appreciative of the opportunity I had, because it was a special time, and it just went so quick. But it's memories. It's all we can hold on to now.
Yeah, I think you have a good understanding of, how awesome the opportunity that you have right now is of playing professional
Yeah,
baseball. I can
truly.
confidently tell you that playing baseball is a lot more fun than a 9 to 5. So enjoy it while you can. Shay, I
Yeah.
appreciate you taking the time to hop on here. And this was an unbelievable episode. And I'm excited to see all you do the rest of the way.
Awesome. Thanks, Tristan. Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Thank you again to Shay for sharing his journey and insight into the mental side of the game. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who would find it valuable. Thanks for tuning in and keep moving forward. Until next time.